Okay, I see you perfect. So I still have the
Shut that door. Thank you, if you don't mind. That way we don't get bothered.
I still have the anxiety video on my phone.
You hoard it?
You gonna talk to me about that?
Yes, I will. Every time, every chance I get, turn the tables.
Yeah.
How's the garage?
Fantastic.
Really?
I have pictures I'll show you.
That's amazing. Did I show you the picture of the police apartment bathrooms?
You showed me the video while they were doing the toilet.
There. It is like, it is it has to be an Instagram feature. That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
it is.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
All right.
Lights, cameras.
You guys ready?
Acciones.
Yeah, good.
Greener way to be laid to rest.
Yeah, I saw that. All right, here we go.
Here we are. You think this will be okay? Yeah, this won't interfere with the audio.
From Absolute Healthcare, it's all about getting you healthy and making sure your life is well balanced. The Healing Docs Show, Sunday, 9 a.m.
And look at that. There we are. There you are. Thanks for joining us once again on a Sunday morning, 9 a.m. The Healing Doc Show, brought to you by Absolute Healthcare every Sunday at this time. And only on this station, you're going to have the docs, of course, presenting the information that means the most to you about your health and wellness. Only here, and it's the only place you're going to find it. It's right here, the Healing Doc Show, every Sunday. So we're going to address the issues that matter most to you, as we have done in the past several weeks here. Every single Sunday, we look at a topic and one that means the most to you, including longevity, which we're going to touch on today. So without further ado, let me introduce our doctors in the studio once again. Dr. Malhotra, also known as Dr. G, and of course, Dr. Gupta from Absolute Healthcare. 3 locations to help you, by the way. 1 in Spring Hill, 1 in Port Richey, 1 in Tampa. Their number is 352-251-0000. You can find them online at absolutehealthcare.org. Dr. Malhotra, Dr. G, and of course Dr. Gupta. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, John.
You prefer Dr. G over Dr. Malhotra, or both of them's fine, or what?
Call me whatever.
Okay, you got
It's
it.
fine.
We love it. It helps to keep me in shape and in practice. So we're going to talk longevity today. So tell me, where do we start? What is longevity to begin with?
Want to go, Dr.
Sure.
Gupta?
Longevity is really the length of life, right? We often have numbers that are done. For example, in the United States, we have the U.S. consensus as something that's measured every 10 years to give us statistics on different things. And we base longevity off of if you're living longer than what we expect for the average age of a male or female. That would be for men about 74 years old, and for women close to 80 years old, but right now it's between 77 and 79 over the past few years.
Okay.
Just
So you're
because
looking
of the couple of years of COVID, we've changed the
Yeah.
mortality, and higher mortality has affected
Yeah.
the
Correct.
people in the older age group, bringing it down.
So I understood that, and that was going to be one of my questions, but you just brought that to light, and we appreciate it. So women, of course, we know live longer. We've seen that throughout the years. But what about genetics? Does genetics play a role in this, family history?
We do believe that genetics play an important part, but again,
Only about 25% of the role for longevity is contributed to by genetics. But majority of it, 75%, the huge vast majority of it is significantly dependent upon what we do, how we live, where we live. You know, is there a higher rate of homicide where we live, higher rate of drug addiction where we live, etc.
So environment plays a big role, major role.
Yes, because younger people get impacted by it, therefore a huge lifespan is lost. Let's say if a 30-year-old person dies, as opposed to a 70-year-old, we've lost 40 years of life, bringing the average down significantly. So that makes a big difference, particularly in the United States. You know, we have a huge homicide rate, we have high opiate addiction rates, and thus overdose deaths, etc. And shamefully, we are at what rank, Doc, now?
well, there are different lists that we've seen, anywhere between 45 all the way up to 54 in terms of how long we live when we compare ourselves to other countries.
So in ranking, we are terrible compared to the amount of money we spend on healthcare, and hopefully we think that it translates into longevity, and it just does not.
Well, instead of spending all that money on healthcare, why not health prevention? That's what you're all about, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, we have so much focus on longevity that even people's regular blood pressure medicines, we see at times that they're on good blood pressure, they're on blood pressure medicines that bring the pressure down, but there are combinations that are way better. And maybe other physicians are either not aware of it, or they just don't choose to make that move to make a change in the patient's medications. So we definitely, in our practice, when Dr. Gupta joined, one of the first lectures that I had ready for him was that on longevity.
Yep.
Say, this is something that we must practice. So here we are talking about it today, but it is such a prime part of our practice that is not just about disease control, it's about what's going to happen to you 10 years from now.
That's right. Okay, so we know alcohol, tobacco, these are bad for us, and it's going to, so they're going to be associated with longevity, of course, shortening our length of life, and we know that they're bad habits to take up. What other habits would be bad for us that you want to discuss today?
I think the habits related to what we're eating, as well as the contributions of over excess of calories causing obesity, and the diseases that are associated with being overweight and obese. So I think that's a huge factor in essentially cheap calories in America, but many westernized countries that have an excess amounts of foods that are cheap and available are usually bad for our health.
Now, there's a pyramid that's brought out every year, I guess. And I don't know if it's been changed within the last few years. I believe it has.
It has been changed.
Okay, so can you explain a little bit, touch on that? Is that what we follow, or what do we follow?
It's turned into a plate.
Yes.
Hasn't it?
Oh, that's
has.
right. Yeah, I remember seeing
It
that.
was a pyramid,
Yeah.
yes. There's been many changes to that, and a lot of it goes back and forth with, is any part of this political? Because it does come out by the government. There are a lot of industries and lobbyers of different industries, and especially farm industries, cattle, milk, cheeses. So if they're good for you, if they're bad for you, one day here, one day they're good, one day they're bad. What really matters is if the foods that you're eating are not going to be excessive amounts or starving yourself, because what we'll talk about a little bit is the fasting that can be sometimes talked about with longevity, really is where you put yourself at risk. The types of food are also important, but we should start with reducing the amount of food first.
So processed meats, any kind of processed
Yes.
foods, sugary foods,
Yes.
carbohydrates, bad or good?
It depends.
Okay.
It all depends. We
Excess of anything
Oh, right.
is bad. But more fresh foods we get into, the ones that prevent hypertension. We've talked about the DASH diet. What does that stand for, doctor?
So the DASH diet is a dietary approach to stop hypertension.
So if we go and start increasing the amount of potassium, calcium, and magnesium in our diet, it shows that it decreases the blood pressure, improves lifespan. The Mediterranean diet we know is associated with it. We know that most of the countries that are associated with longer lifespan belong in Asia. And something unique about Asia is a lot of vegetarianism. So people who are vegetarian have a 15% reduction in mortality. Actually, even over here, lots of cardiologists now have fallen onto that gone onto the same bandwagon, advising their patients who have had heart disease, say, turn vegetarian, it'll start to clean up your arteries.
No, you're not a specialist, but you specialize in a lot of things. I mean, you have so much information to share with your patients at Absolute Healthcare. That's the first place to start, I would assume and think.
Well, we do believe that we have an interesting way of practice. Whether unique or not, we cannot tell. But we do have many things that we see are missing from other practices when we inherit patients from other practices.
I got you. Okay, and what I love about Absolute Healthcare is you also install a facility on each one of your offices as a gym for your patients.
Yes, there is no doubt about it that besides a John, we have a gym.
Yes.
And how do you spell that, please?
So the gym, the exercise component of health is immense. It is stronger than any pill that we can give you, or any combination of pills that we can give you. There is a VA study, the Veterans Administration study, that doesn't have any axe to grind in terms of finances, which shows that the people in the highest fitness level have a 70% reduction in mortality compared to those who do not have that fitness. So why not involve everybody into the gym? Not only that, when we have a gym in our office, we don't have these gym buffs who are in their 20s and 30s coming up with big muscles, expecting the older gentleman or woman to be pushed over onto the next machine. Hey, you move, it's my time.
Yeah.
So it makes it so much more comfortable for seniors to come and have a gym dedicated to themselves. We have a personal trainer who works with them. So that personal trainer encourages them, teaches them, makes them more comfortable with machines that might be new. Because learning new activities also not only just gets a new part of your body to be more fit, but even the mind. Because we know that newer activities are associated with a development or recruitment of nerve cells into our system that improves our cognition. So we want that entire combination, plus the social aspect of it. As patients come together, they know they will talk all the bad stuff about me together out there and have a common point. Or all the good stuff about our practice.
Yeah.
As they get together over there, socialize, and find a common point or different common points in the community, that they belong to a similar age group, similar financial groups many a times, similar backgrounds in terms of employment, that they will, many of them are from New York, Michigan, out of state.
Yeah.
So they talk about the comparisons, get together, and have a nice social life as well, which itself is related to mortality. If you have a poor social life, you are higher in the likelihood of death. So that entire combination, which has also been seen in religion.
Yep.
You
The
know-
inclusion aspects of all these things is really what is
Yes, it
So
reduces
beneficial.
hatred, it reduces social anxiety, it reduces so many things that people become much more comfortable, much more able to perform and participate in activities. So I don't know if you've watched the movie, The Yes Man.
Oh yeah, I have. Yeah.
That just say yes to
Right.
things that are good for you, just say yes. That hesitation is taken away and you get involved in positive stuff. And that positive stuff, positive attitude, that whole thing comes together and translates into longevity.
Yes. The other thing I would like to say is the pure definition of longevity of just living longer. I don't think anybody would be willing to accept to be on some life support machine if we could guarantee you live forever.
Right.
So we also want to make sure that the quality of a person's life is really as important as how long they're living as well. That's why we go through these lengths to be a person's advocate that comes to our office. We go through every aspect that Dr. G was just mentioning of their lives and see where are they lacking and how can we help. They have to be willing to open up to us, to tell us these things, to trust us, to believe that what we're doing is in their best interest. But a lot of the times we can get a patient to do that very thing. And that's why we go through the extent of getting these personal trainers that we have, different types of machines that help people feel or look or improve their quality of life, and get people aware that, hey, I'm a part of this community. These are the very people that live probably a few hundred feet from me or a mile away. You know, these are the people I see at my grocery store. So it's just a way to get an inclusion that says, oh wow, I'm not the only person that deals with X, Y, or Z disease, and these people are going and pushing through it just like I am, and it makes you feel that you can get through this too. So
Correct. It's a good support group that
Oh, yeah.
forms out there. And the beauty of it is that it doesn't cost the patient or their insurance anything to do this with us.
Wow.
We don't charge the insurance for the patients to use the gym. We don't charge the insurance or the patient for having a personal trainer or using these special machines that strengthen their muscles, etc. These are all, we do profit from it by keeping them healthier.
Sure.
So that's what we do, that if we don't invest into the practice and our patient, we are simply paper pushers, and we are not that policy or that principle. Our principles are that, okay, if I will ask you to lose weight, I will be there to support you. I will show you the medical aspects of it as well at such an affordable cost. We can help you exercise in a way that you'll be comfortable at no cost to anybody. So all these things start to get included in our practice. So it is not just about what insurance you have. You may have the best insurance in the world, but if you have the worst doctor, you are in dire trouble.
I agree.
So You truly have to choose a practice which can include so much stuff. And not just say, oh, we'll do your manicure, pedicure, come here for that. That's rubbish. That truly is rubbish. That what are you actually contributing in terms of health to the patient? So our practice focuses on such things that are going to be fortifying your health, because disease is going to come to each one of us. How your body is managing to handle it is what we want you to be prepared for.
Yes.
And you're only going to find that at Absolute Healthcare. You may be asking yourself, what is he talking about? Who is that? That's Dr. Malhotra, otherwise known as Dr. G, and Dr. Gupta, the healthy docs, in our studio every Sunday with you to bring you this important information because they care. At Absolute Healthcare, you can give them a call, make an appointment now at 352-251-0000. And of course, they've got, did I give you too many zeros? It's 251-0000. There you go. 352 area code.
Yes, 4 zeros.
Yeah, 4 zeros, right? It's so easy to remember. So why not dial it? 352-251-0000. Make that appointment now with Absolute Healthcare, one in office in Spring Hill, Port Richey, Tampa, all equipped with that gym that Dr. Malhotra was telling you about free for the patients there. Because it's all about health, it's all about quality of life, quantity of life. We're talking about longevity. You mentioned, Dr. G, about across the world and longevity and how the numbers are different throughout the world. Does that include weather? Does that have an effect on our longevity?
Yes, we are all blessed to live in Florida
Amen.
because warmer weathers are associated with longer life. And we believe it is simply because for those 6-7 months of the year, you're not trapped inside a house with a sedentary lifestyle.
I see.
Depression moving in because of terrible skies and cloudy and, it's just a drab weather. It works, a terrible effect on you.
Yeah.
So I was in Chicago maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it's not even October, and it is terrible. It is just windy. I couldn't get out. I have to wear a jacket, and the wind is playing on my face. And I say I want to get back into the hotel and just do whatever we have to do inside. So all these things, plus the social aspect. As you get out, you meet other people. You might be out just taking a walk in the park or go by the beachside. So this all increases physical activity, social activity, the effect of light on your mind, which is known as seasonal affective disorder, which is just like depression, affecting you in the wintertime, and thus making you feel way worse, the chances of higher suicide, not having to shovel snow, which is one of the commonest causes for men to die.
Wow.
Because they're out there shoveling snow away from their driveways, and there you find them dead. So all these things are taken away from a person in warmer weather. So these are the things that is the impact of weather on lifespan.
Plus vitamin D through the sunshine, right?
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah.
vitamin D, absolutely.
And if you just think about every time depression is characterized on television, cartoons, everything that you've seen growing up, every time they depict either a caricature of a person that is depressed, what follows them? A cloud, a darkness that's lingering over their head. That, while it's not always weather that's going to cause someone to be depressed, it is one of the things that we almost always commonly associate with depression is these clouds that are over us, right? And it's a way that almost universally it's understood without speaking an English or Spanish or any other language, that you understand that that's a depressive idea that I'm looking at right now or thinking of. So these are real things because they've come from actual patients that are living in these weathers that are just cold and dark and damp, and whether it's snow or just no sun,
Yes.
So now, are we saying you should move out of Alaska if that's where you live? Not necessarily, but
If you have an option,
I have seen many patients in the hospital that were snowbirds.
Yeah.
They would wait for those cold, rainy, wintry months and come to Florida.
Yeah.
So, it can be done. If it's not in your budget, there are other
Choose
ways
Florida.
to manage things. But yes,
choose the South.
choose Florida,
That's
choose
right.
choose Spring
Arizona,
Hill.
Texas, yeah, Spring- and choose Absolute Healthcare.
Choose absolutely.
Of course.
Now, diet fasting, good, bad.
Fasting has been shown to improve lifespan in rodents. So mice, rats, etc., yes. Amongst primates, which is where we are, closer to our species, it has not been shown to improve lifespan. So there are many people doing intermittent fasting, caloric restriction. Unless you have a disease associated with caloric excess, I would suggest that you don't need to restrict your calories. So it is the excess of calories that is harmful. Normal amount of calories, excuse me, I've got this post-COVID cough. Normal amount of calories is just fine. Until we have proof, we will not advise you to fast unless you have a disease associated with calories.
Ah, interesting. And now diet, that's always been sort of a, I don't know, it's been a catchy phrase for years, but it's also been a taboo, sort of like a bad word. Ooh, diet, So where does that fit in on longevity?
I think choosing good food as opposed to cheap bad food. Think of yourself as, who you are and what you want to put inside you. And if you can judge in a very rational way that what is good for your body, do that. Do the right thing for yourself. You are the most precious thing in your life. Why misuse it? And some people have that idea that, hey, I can't waste any food. I grew up with that concept that you can't waste food. But when you think about it, am I a trash can? And if the answer is no, then please keep that excess food away. You can waste the food on that plate rather than put it into you and negatively impact your body. Store it away in the refrigerator. You can have it for the next meal. With inflation, you're better off doing that anyways.
Right.
You got 2 meals out of 1. You cut the cost in half and it's good for you. So just think in those terms and say, I am going to respect this temple, this gift from the Lord or whatever you believe in, and I am going to take good care of this.
And
How do you do that? Not by eating junk food.
Right.
So diet means that you are the smart guy who eats good food.
Gotcha. Because there's so many diets out there. People get misled or they just get pushed in one direction. Where you mentioned Mediterranean diet earlier, which there are separate diets, but it's been given it's just been a tagline and just been misused over the years. I think personally, because do I go on a diet or not?
You should go on a good food diet.
Okay.
And I think that you also have to have an idea of what your goal is when you're doing a diet. Is the goal just to do weight loss? Is the goal just to be healthier in general and to live longer with a better quality of life? I would imagine you would want all in one. If it's something you're eating, you'd want it to be good and also to help you lose weight if you have excess weight, etc. And when it comes to losing weight, most diets are considered to be equally effective if you stick with it. So whether you pay a company that prepares it for you or you do the extra legwork and just do your math yourself by looking at the nutrition labels at the grocery store or at the restaurant, then you can do that on your own. So you're really just paying a premium if you're asking a company to do that for you and sending you meals or boxes and things so that you don't have to worry about the math. You'll just know, hey, this is going to be a good amount of food for me to eat, and then you can make the decision, is this food that also good for my health? Is it lower in sodium? Is it higher in other electrolytes, potassium, calcium? Does it have more greens and vegetables instead of meats? Because you can get your proteins without the meats. So stick with fresh, lean meats if you're going to eat meat, grilled, boiled, and using your fingers to pinch a little bit of a seasoning, not dumping it over like a salt shaker and just covering the whole thing in it. I don't think that frying anything is ever going to be recommended by me. Obviously we're all human, but we have to make decisions on a daily basis. So if you're comparing yourself to a perfect marathon runner that eats everything is healthy for them, that's not going to be an ideal and realistic goal for you.
Right.
You just need to compare yourself to yourself. Is it better than what you did yesterday or your previous meal? So those are the things that you can really do to contribute to the longevity of keeping up with the diet, which is really the biggest factor when people fail these diets.
And that's why we turn to the professionals, the experts in our studios from Absolute Healthcare. They're the healthy docs, and they're explaining why today and every Sunday, 9 a.m., right here on this station. So we've got several minutes left. I'd say about, 4 minutes or so. We want to continue talking about longevity as we go down our list here. Fasting, we talked about diet, routine screenings, vaccines, and disease control. How does this fit in with longevity?
So this is right in our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
This is really what wanted me to leave the hospital and work in the clinic with Dr. G, because when you're in the hospital, you're already seeing diseases that many times are preventable. and you're worrying about how to treat once it's already happened. Prevention really does matter, and most of the common diseases is easily preventable. And if not easily, still preventable. And we can do that even if we have to work harder. I tell patients, let me share some of the burden with you, because I can do some of the thinking, I can do some of the adjustments to your pills.
Scheduling.
I can do those things.
Is heart
that's
disease
why
the
I'm
most
here.
common still disease? Heart
Yes.
disease?
Heart
Okay.
disease.
Okay.
So while they often romanticize what doctors do on television, coming up with fancy diagnoses and rare diseases and things of that nature, that is overwhelmingly very small on the scale of things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis that comes with all of the common diseases that we've already talked about here. Literally every week has built up to this lecture that we've gone through today, because those are the diseases that we can easily prevent. Just last time we talked about COPD. 80% of them we can already say is due to smoking. That 20-25% that has to do with DNA, genetics, environmental things that we are really have difficulty with controlling, those are always going to be there, and we can fight for those things as well. But easily saying, hey, let us help you stop smoking, let us help you reduce the weight, let us help you control the cholesterol, X, Y, and Z, all of the things that we've already mentioned here. This is the preventable things that we can do for a person in the long run, because it's hard to see your risks. You cannot see a percentage of how likely you are going to pass away or have a bad event happen in your life by looking in the mirror. So we can do those things for you. We can put calculators, we can put numbers in, we can show you real data that says, based off the way you're living now and how your conditions are now, this is your risk for the future, and give you an individualized number just for you, and say, this is where we think you can get to in a relatively short period of time if you're willing to work with us.
And they have a name they have to live up to, the Healthy Docs, and you got to live up to that name. Hyperbaric oxygen aging. I've heard of that, but what is that exactly?
It is a chamber in which a person sits and gets high concentrations of oxygen for a short period of time. And it has been studied. It has not been studied in longevity, but the results of this study are startling. They are amazing. We know that most of our senescence, our aging, comes from our protective mechanisms not doing the right thing. So in our blood, we have our protective mechanisms called lymphocytes. They're T cells and B cells. And with hyperbaric oxygen, it has been shown that those cells, which otherwise deteriorate with age and life, with the treatment, have come to a point that is 25 years younger.
Wow. Incredible.
So it is an insane finding at this time.
Yeah.
The studies to look for it in longevity are still ongoing, but to find that our blood cells have transformed, our protective cells have transformed to a point where we had the defense mechanisms of 25 years ago, that is an insane number. So it is something that I personally do practice it. I have done the entire treatment for myself. A couple of my patients have gone on to use it as well. A few of my patients who were not healing in terms of wounds or burns, etc., we've used it on them, and it has made an immense change in what would not heal for a decade. Now the wound is gone. So it somehow changes the way our DNA behaves. We have one part of our DNA called the telomere, which is the tip of the long arm of the DNA, and that telomere shortens as we age. We believe that that telomere has the spare parts for repair of the entire DNA abnormalities that take place with aging and division, etc. As the number of spare parts decrease, we cannot fix what has gone wrong, and the messenger RNAs will pick up something, or transfer RNAs will pick up something that is not as good and try and match it somehow, or rig it, so to speak, as opposed to have the exact replacement. So by lengthening, the telomere length lengthens to 25 years younger age. So this is what we are hoping and looking forward to as a game changer in longevity. There are other game changers. Exercise is a total game changer. For the sedentary man, it is something that we could just transform your life. We have machines which no longer leave you sedentary. They will exercise you while you just rest. So there are things. I have patients who've told me that who came to me, they were not able to walk or needed a walker or needed a wheelchair, and suddenly they're going without any assisting device. So there are game changers, and hyperbaric oxygen is one of them that we're looking forward to as come as a game changer. We do have a chamber in our office that we use, and it might be in the future, we'll know. At this point in time, we're not sure where it takes you.
But we know it has been shown to improve wound healing, and it does show some evidence of increasing the arteries to certain areas, especially if you already have bad arterial disease.
Mhm.
And typically you've heard of it maybe with patients that get the bends when they go diving. So those things, it for sure works, and it must be working for some kind of reason. If something's improving your ability to heal, you could easily make the judgment call that this is going to be something that can't hurt you, and if it's going to make you live longer, then why not jump on board now? So those are the things, like these telomeres, they're like the plastic part at the end of your shoelace. Okay, so once that unravels, your whole DNA is just going to fall apart. Okay, and that's really where we don't truly understand how it affects aging, but we do know that it's strongly associated with how long a person does live. How the mechanisms work is still being studied and investigated, but that'll take time. But anything that's going to show us evidence that it's going to keep those things longer and that plastic part at the end of your shoelace stronger, we're all for it.
Oh yeah. Take the risk out of life and enjoy the benefits through the Healthy Docs at Absolute Healthcare. Just some of the other reasons there to contact them today. Unfortunately, time has run out. We had a lot of information to cover on longevity. Whatever we missed today, we'll pick up in the future, maybe next week. Absolute Healthcare every Sunday, 352-251-0000. The number to call. Absolute Healthcare. Go online, absolutehealthcare.org. Make that appointment now with the Healthy Docs. Dr. Malhotra, aka Dr. G, and Dr. Gupta. Gentlemen, we'll see you next week.
Take care, bye. All right.
All right.
So nice.
Way to lead that.
Man, the time goes by so fast.
Yes, don't even realize.
I know. I said like 4 minutes earlier, and then next thing you know, it's like, man, it's here. All right.